Hello, welcome to Biblical Greek with ExGarage Podcast. We're in Chapter 3 of Mounce's Biblical Greek, or Basics of Biblical Greek Grammar, William D. Mounce. So, if you don't have this book, get this book. I can't remember if I said I wouldn't do an introduction about the book again, but if I did or I didn't, I don't know. By the way, this will be the last introduction to the book. So get this book. This is the third edition. The fourth edition probably works as well. So either one. They might be differences of page numbers, but the content, for the most part, I'm assuming, should be the same. So at the top of the page, it says Chapter 3, and it says the alphabet and pronunciation. That's a good indicator of what the chapter's about. And actually, I should say, of course, that's what it's about, but also that's what are the takeaways. So if there's something to focus on in the chapter and to be conscientious of the most and to work on, it's really usually the summary of the chapter heading, not so much even the overview or any other section he provides to summarize the chapter. It really, at the end of the chapters, he has a summary. But really, if you're feeling overwhelmed, go back to the simple headings, the alphabet and pronunciation. That's really what you want to work on. But he gives the overview. Read through the overview. That'll be, again, kind of like a broader summary of things you're going to want to keep an eye on. And it deals with the similar stuff. Write and pronounce the alphabet. Well, again, writing is not going to be as important as pronouncing the alphabet. You want to be able to say it to yourself and speak it to others if ever you're doing exegesis, drawing meaning out of the text, and then presenting that for whoever's before you as we share the gospel. You want to be able to share and speak the language, but we're not scribes. We're not going to be writing the language. You can get good at writing on a tablet for teaching or something like that if that's something you desire to do. It's never been something I've desired to do. I try to keep myself from showmanship because that's just, for me, that's what it is. It's not usually done on a good conscience. But if you can enjoy getting into writing things well and that you just like that, do it. And it'll be great for teaching. It'd be fun to write the language in just an excellent manner. But I don't write English in an excellent manner. It's quite poor. Okay. So things like that. The overview, it gives things that's just not, don't be focused on. If you want to do just good interpretation, biblical interpretation, really in this chapter focus on alphabet and pronunciation. So the Greek alphabet, 24 letters, he says, and so you'll memorize 24 letters. You'll get those down. You won't necessarily don't be too worried about memorizing them in order, although initially you'll want to get them down that way. That's how they're listed. That makes sense. But down the road, you might start realizing you're forgetting the alphabet in its linear order, or linear this way, however you want to write it out. And that's not the thing. The thing is to know the letter, what's the name of the letter and how to pronounce it, and what it looks like on a page. Okay, so there's footnotes throughout. If you're interested in those, you might just always glance at them in case they could be helpful. But as he said earlier in the book, you don't need to worry about footnotes in this textbook. You need to worry about footnotes in the workbook. The workbook footnotes might tell you what a word means that you haven't learned yet or something like that. It's been a while since I've used a workbook. But those are important in the workbook. It's more of an advanced, detailed footnotes for those who want to dig deeper into Greek and using, just knowing all the facets and maybe teaching it one day. But if you're just growing, wanting to just get Greek down and then move into using the language and using it well, that will be developed as you just go through the chapters and glance at the footnotes, and then you'll take the footnotes that seem that it's going to help you out. Okay, I hope that makes sense. They're not necessary, but they can be helpful for Greek later. Maybe you'll go through the textbook and then come to the footnotes later. The second time through, you might want to go through the textbook, which will be way quicker. It might seem overwhelming to go back through it a second time, but it's a whole different ball game at that point. So the footnotes become more your attention getters the second time through than the first time through. So we're going to go through the alphabet. What I'm going to do is, he lists the chart, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to the alphabet. First time through, I'm just going to go slow and pronounce each letter, and then I'm going to go back through with more of a rhythm to show you maybe a way of internalizing the alphabet. But he wants you to know that the chart's laid out in a particular way. This is on page 8 in the 3rd edition. Is that what I'm using? Yeah. Don't know why I forgot that. It's the only edition I've ever had for the last 10 years or something like that. Maybe 8 years. I don't know. So following the chart, you've got the name of the letter in Greek, or in English and Greek, the English transliteration in italics, the letter written as a capital and as a small letter, and its pronunciation. But what you're going to focus on is the small letter and its pronunciation. Those two things are what's important. Don't get caught up with the rest. Just the saying the letter, its small form, its lowercase, and how it would be pronounced, which is the initial phonology. When you say the word, the initial sound is what you'll want to remember. So an example is Aleph, ah, as in father, ah. So Aleph makes the ah sound. And you go through each of them. Beta makes the b, as in by bull, bull, bull. But here I go. We'll read them up. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. I'll do that one more time. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. So what you can do to if you want to get the alphabet down earlier, as you'll be spending this week, or the week that you're, of course, this week, for whatever week you're watching this video. If you want to get it down quicker, oftentimes it's melody, song, things like that. You might find a YouTube video where someone's singing the song. I like to use rhythm, kind of a rap, to memorize it. What it does is it brings, instead of seeing each letter individually, it brings the letters into groups. So you actually kind of end up memorizing them through pairs rather than singles all the way through. So an example being alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. So however you want to divide the alphabet, you can present it in a rhythmic way, and that helps get it down. So you can be alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. So that's how you can do it. So again, he lists how it's pronounced on the far right side of the how he's got it listed out on page 8. This is also 3.1. On the far right side, he lists how it's pronounced. The first letter of the word, of the letter, first sound of the letter is how it'll be pronounced as you're reading it, a Greek word. So, for an example, eta is e as in obey, theta is thing, theta. So you hear that as the initial phonology there is what we mean by memorizing the letter and its sound. So the letter is theta, the sound is th, as in thing. What he gives is really good, so I'm not going to actually go through and talk through each sound and pronunciation. Again, I don't find that as important. Some Greek teachers and others would be like, "You're nuts." But generally, those who say that would not argue that knowing the pronunciation in an excellent way, they would not argue that actually translates into how you do exegesis. That's not what it is. It's just how you pronounce it is going to help others when they hear it know what you're talking about. So again, you just want to be using however you end up pronouncing them, which again, the examples he gives is really good. It's simple to follow. Omicron, as O as in not, Omicron. And he has a footnote to 6, and he says you could also say it as O as in obey, which would be the long O, obey. I personally, so you got an option there, but I personally use the O as in as in like hot or not. And I preserve the long O for omega, O as in omega. And I just keep that static all the way through what I do. In other words, I don't change it. You might hear me changing it at times. Again, so pronunciation, I personally say don't get carried away. You're learning a new language. Focus on the initial sounds and then just be consistent with it. Get that alphabet down and you'll be good to go. Writing the letters, 3-2. Again, as I said, you can skip that. Read through it. Just see what he's saying. But I would say don't spend much time on that. You'll be able to write the letters. Read through it. You'll want to write the letters, but just don't make it like it's a thing that you want to do excellently, unless that's your jam. Pronouncing the letters. He mentions the gamma. He mentions a couple things there. Read through it, pick up on the nuances, but again, don't get carried away. One thing to note is gamma usually has a hard G as g, as in get. However, when it is immediately followed by another gamma or kappa, xi, he and xi, what you're going to want to do is, did I miss something? Just want to double check here. I don't know why I want to make sure I'm not saying something backwards here. So, it's xi and ki and kappa and gamma. Anytime a gamma is followed by any of those letters, sorry, I apologize for the long wait there. Spacing out. It's like 9. It's getting late here. That the first G, the gamma, the g, will turn into more of a nasal g, or whatever this is followed by. So he gives the example of engalos. Notice how I said engalos, not enggalos, engalos. Having that kind of that angle, that it almost comes naturally. Anytime you have the double G's or the double gammas, or a gamma followed by a kappa or xi, it's almost all naturally you're going to be doing that x or ng. So it's called the gamma nasal. I spent way too much on that point. 3.34. Alpha and iota can either be long or short. Epsilon and omicron are always short, while eta and omega are always long. Sorry for making that sound. It's probably, again, I think I said that in another video, it's probably annoying. If it is, get ready for a long road ahead. Yeah. Just read through that. I just don't think don't get too caught up with the pronunciation, or get as caught up into it as you would like. And there are videos I'm sure out there. Mounce has one on his website, which the book refers to. 1 John, he goes through a passage in 1 John. You kind of listen to how he's doing it. And he doesn't, it's honestly not going to be much different than what you hear me doing, but there might be some nuances there that I don't pick up on, because again, I'm not really focused on it. Rough breathing mark. This is important because it does make a difference in pronunciation. That's consistent, and he gives the example of hooper. We got, and I'll do the rough breathing mark first. So what you'll have is one of these little marks above the letter, and that's H sounds it makes, who, and it kind of carries up into the first vowel here. So the first letter, whatever it is, it'll take up a bit of that sound with the H sound. So hooper, not ooper. Ooper would be the smooth, and that, let me just do it like this. Okay, smooth is the opposite direction, and you just be pronouncing the first letter, essentially, whatever the first letter will be. So the H sound will be carried up, and it also, well, not carried up. H sound will carry up a little bit of the first sound of the initial letter. Hooper. So pronouncing diphthongs. Diphthongs are where two vowels come together to form one sound, and they function as one in syllabification, which is the next chapter. How you do syllables, break a word in its rhythm, and how you're emphasizing parts of a word as you're speaking it. These diphthongs function as just one vowel, and when we get to that chapter, we'll talk about that. It's nothing to be too frightened about. It'll be make sense when we get there. So get the diphthongs down. So you got I, as in I rho is the Greek word he gives. So it's got the alpha and the iota, but that's pronounced as I rho. So actually you hear that syllabification syllable there. That's I rho. So we got two syllables. Those two vowels are functioning as one. You can give some footnotes there. An improper diphthong. It talks about the iota subscript written under the vowels alpha, eta, and omega, and normally is the last letter in a word. The iota has no effect on the pronunciation, but is essential for translation. So pay attention to it. So yeah, if you look under his example, he gives graphe. I'm using that instead of the other ones because graphe is an important, or every word in the Bible is important, but this one comes up a lot, and it has a lot of theological weight to it. Graphe, yeah. And I'm not going to do all the accent marks, but I'm just going to do the one that we need. Well, there's only one other accent mark, but anyway. This little hook underneath the end there is the iota subscript. So the iota in the alphabet, it look like something like, I'm backwards here. I don't want to get this right here. I don't want to throw you off. No, let's not get too tricky. It's basically the line. I'm literally writing it like it's it's just that top line there. But anyhow, that deal there, subscripts, it comes under the last letter and becomes a little jot like that. But that's the iota. It'll come up later in translation. It seems like something crazy at first, but it's not. You'll just automatically, at this point forward, you're going to be thinking of that little dot, that little symbol underneath. Generally, well, yeah, you're going to find it underneath, as he says there. In what section was that? Did I change the page? That's what was messing me up. Okay. Yeah, it has no effect on pronunciation, but is essential for translations. So yeah, it'll happen quite frequently at the end of a noun, and I think verbs too. I can't remember. I'm totally forgetting. But either way, you know what it is. It's an iota, and it's subscript. It's gone under. It's not going to change pronunciation, but it does make a difference on what the noun is meaning, and we'll get to that next week, I think, or in the next video. Deerces, you can read that. Do read that. Skim through everything. Read through everything, but take in really the points that I speak to. You read the summary. Again, your real summary is the chapter heading. Advanced information, there are some capital letters that look nothing like their lowercase letters, so you'll want to note that, highlight that. But the capital letters are not as important to memorize at first because they're not used as much. They're very rarely used in the Greek New Testament for maybe the capitalization of a name. So you want to be familiar with them, and so when you see a capitalization in the text, you might have to refer back to the alphabet list. But no reason to get carried away with that first. You get carried away more with the small, the lowercase letters, the minuscule form, so they call it. Anyway, that's chapter 3, the alphabet, and what pronunciation, and a little bit more. Hope that's helpful.